The sound is not a roar, but a dry, sibilant hiss from the undergrowth, a sound older than bone. Then, a single, sharp cry of pain. Enough! The matriarch stumbles back into the clearing, her hand pressed against her calf. Her face, a mask of sun-hardened resolve that has guided her small clan of Homo sapiens across 1,000 miles of hostile terrain, is now twisted by a sudden, intimate terror. Her mate, BOO, is at her side in an instant, his stone-tipped spear forgotten. He helps her to the ground as the others, a tight constellation of 8 souls, gather around. On her leg, just above the ankle, are 2 small, dark punctures, glistening with a bead of blood that refuses to clot. The skin around them is already beginning to blush with an unnatural heat. This is not a wound of tooth or claw, a threat they can face with fire and flint. This is a silent invasion, a fire seeping into the blood. This is a battle that cannot be won with strength. Honor's value to this clan, these early humans, is not in her muscles, but in the vast, unwritten library of her mind. She is the keeper of the memories which roots are safe, which clouds promise rain, the subtle shift in a predator's gait that signals an attack. Her knowledge of ethnobacine, though she has no name for it, is the thread from which their survival is woven. Then now, that thread is beginning to unravel. The poison works with a brutal efficiency. A tremor begins in her leg, a low hum of destruction. BOR presses his hand against the wound, a futile gesture of protection. Her eldest daughter, Kale, watches her mother's eyes. They are losing their focus, the sharp, intelligent light clouding over as if staring at a landscape only she can see. Honor's breathing becomes shallow, her words catching in her throat. She pushes Boar's hand away and grabs Kayla's wrist, her grip surprisingly strong, her lips move, forming fragmented sounds. Not words, but echoes of them. She points a trembling finger away from the sun, towards a ridge of dark, broken rock, stone. She rasps the word a shard of its former self. Red vein, she coughs. A wet, rattling sound, and her eyes close for a moment. Her entire body shudders. The clan is frozen, a collective held breath. They died. Their anchor in this endless expanse of prehistoric life is being erased before their eyes. Every moment of hesitation is a memory lost forever, a vital survival skill turning to dust. Kale holds her mother's words in her mind, turning them over like stones in her hand. Stone, red vein. The fear that had paralyzed the others now sharpens her focus. It is a map, a riddle left by a mind already halfway lost in shadow. Bioa looks up from a knoll, his face a ruin of despair. He can track a mammoth for days, read the wind, feel the approach of a storm. But this quiet, internal enemy leaves him helpless. This is a new kind of hunt. The prey is not a beast, but a cure. Cal meets the eyes of her younger brother, Neris. He is swift and keen-eyed, but his gaze is filled with the same doubt that grips the rest of the clan. To leave the relative safety of their small fire is to invite other dangers, but to stay is to watch their mother die. The choice is no choice at all. I will go, Cal says, her voice clear and steady, cutting through the heavy silence. Neris, with me. She gestures towards the dark, stony ridge her mother had indicated, its dam silhouetted against the setting sun. A spine of rock breaking through the dry earth of this unforgiving Pleistocene landscape, leaving BOR and the elders to watch over and know. The 2 young human ancestors move out, every rustle in the tall grass, every distant cry of a hunting bird, sends a jolt of adrenaline through them. They are exposed, moving with a desperate purpose through a world that is indifferent to their sorrow. The very air feels heavy with unseen threats, a constant reminder of the fragility of prehistoric life. They reach the base of the ridge. It's a jumble of weathered rock and thorny scrub. Reed vein. Neris mutters, scanning the cracks and crevices. What does it mean? Kayla's eyes sweep the rock face. She sees the usual hardy plants clinging to life. But then her gaze catches on a patch of stone stained a deep, rusty ochre. From a fissure in this reddish rock grows a plant she has never seen before. It is low to the ground, with thick, fleshy leaves that look almost swollen, and a thin, dark stem that has the faint appearance of a vein running through it. It doesn't look like food, doesn't look like anything useful, but it matches the fractured clue. Kay acts on instinct, a deep echo of her mother's own practical wisdom. She pulls one of the leaves, breaking it open. A thick, almost tracer oozes out, smelling faintly of damp earth and something bitter. This is it. It has to be. They work quickly, gathering handfuls of the strange leaves. Their movements surged but careful. They have no idea if this is the cure, a different poison, or simply a useless weed. They are operating on a fragment of a memory, a ghost of knowledge. As they start back, the light is failing. The world is sinking into the deep blues and purples of dusk, the time of the great cats. The race now is not just against the poison in their mother's blood, but against the gathering darkness. They are carrying the first ingredient for a poultice born of desperation, a fragile shield against the inevitable. They burst back into the flickering circle of firelight, gasping for breath. The clan turns to them, their faces hollowed out by the shadows. Eyes asking a question they are too afraid to voice. And eyes still, her breathing a faint, ragged whisper. The skin on her leg is now a taut, angry purple, the swelling creeping ominously toward her thigh. There is no time for doubt. Kel drops to her knees beside her mother. She takes a flat, worn river stone, one of their simple but effective ancient tools, and places the fleshy leaves upon it. Using a smaller, rounded stone, she begins to crush them. The motion is rhythmic, frantic. A dark green paste begins to form, releasing that strange, bitter scent into the fire-warmed air. It is a moment of pure, unguided invention, a foundational act of proto-medicine. Biora watches, his big hands clench, every instinct screaming at him to do something, yet knowing his strength is useless here. Kel scoops the pulpy mesh into her hands. It is cool and wet. She looks at her mother's feverish skin, then at the poultice. For a heart-stopping second, she hesitates. This is the precipice, the line between a cure and a new kind of poison. Then she sees the faintest tremor in her mother's eyelid, and her resolve hardens. With a firm, steady pressure, she applies the paste directly to the snakebite, spreading it over the swollen, discolored flesh. The reaction is immediate and violent. On his body arches in a sudden, silent convulsion. A low moan escapes her lips, a sound of pure agony that chills everyone to the bone. Biora lurches forward, thinking they have made a fatal error, that Kale has just killed her. But Kale holds her ground, pressing the poultice firmly, her own body trembling with the effort. This single, desperate act, a blend of a dying woman's memory and a daughter's fierce love, is a fulcrum upon which their small chapter of hominid history now pivots. For a long, terrible moment, nothing happens. The convulsion subsides, leaving Enough frighteningly still. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the rigid tension in her limbs begins to soften. The rapid, shallow flutter of her breathing deepens, finding a slower, more stable rhythm. The fire in her skin does not vanish, but the angry purple blush seems to lose some of its venomous intensity. The immediate crisis, the sprint towards death, has been slow to a crawl. She is not healed, but she is anchored. She will live, and she will carry the scar. The knowledge is no longer just hers. It has been bought by the clan, paid for in fear and pain. Kale looks at the stained stone, the leftover leaves. This is more than a tool for cutting or scraping. This is a new power, a new promise. We pull back from the small fire, a tiny spark of warmth and intelligence against the immense, indifferent darkness of the African night. The event we have just witnessed is not a grand battle, not a discovery that will leave an immediate mark in the record of archaeology. It is quieter, more profound. This is a turning point in human evolution, not of the body, but of the mind. It is the moment a species, armed with little more than abstract thought in the bonds of community, stops merely enduring nature and begins to question it, to manipulate it, to draw from its secrets not just sustenance, but salvation. The mother's pain became the daughter's lesson. That lesson, shared and remembered, became the clan's strength. On a scar is now a page in a new kind of book, one not written on stone, but in memory and action. Countless trials like this, unrecorded and lost to time, form the deep, foundational bedrock of everything that is to follow. Of medicine, of science, of our unshakable belief that for every poison, there must be a cure. Their struggle is the first echo of our own. If you feel the pulse of this ancient story in your own veins, then add your mark to the stone. The chronicle is not complete without your witness. We listen for the echoes in the silence, for the stories that live in our bones. This is the chronicle of us. But knowledge, once found, is not so easily contained.